However, some scholars, like John Dominic Crossan, do not think Jesus was buried in a tomb, but thrown in a trench for dogs to eat, because the Romans would not have allowed a proper burial for criminals. But such a theory flies in the face of a mountain of evidence. First, Dale Allison, who is skeptical of physical resurrection, points out the word in the Creed in 1 Corinthians 15 for bury would rarely be used for dumping of criminals in a trench for dogs to eat. So the earliest account of the burial of Jesus would be incompatible with Crossan's argument. We also have multiple attestation crucified victims were buried, and two different sources say Jesus was buried. We also have archaeological evidence a crucified victim received a proper burial, and there is no reason to think the Romans would not have allowed this practice. They were certainly okay with allowing other Jewish practices to go on in Jerusalem, such as temple worship, which they detested because it meant a rejection of Roman gods. They allowed the Jews to conduct their own trials, have their own temple guards, keep the Sabbath, and so forth. There is no reason they would not have allowed this as well, and it fits with archaeological and textual evidence. Jesus' burial not only has multiple attestation, but it meets the criteria of embarrassment, since they say he was buried in the tomb of a Sanhedrin member, which would have been dishonoring for his followers. Such a group had just murdered their Lord, and now they needed to bum a tomb for him from one of its own members? To the public, this would have looked pretty humiliating. And the fact that they mention he was in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea means the tomb was public knowledge, and its whereabouts were known. So the public at any time would have known about it and could have readily debunked it if the tomb was not empty.